To the regularly scheduled public meeting of May 2020 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sue, roll call, please.
Councilman Casio.
Present.
Councilman Cumming.
Here.
Councilman DeSena.
Here.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Here.
Council President Feeney.
Here.
Okay.
Let the record also reflect in attendance Mayor Peter Calamari, Township Administrator Tovo, and Township Clerk Sue Wachowski, and Township Attorney Ken Power.
Stacy?
Yes.
Mr. Tovo is not joining us tonight. He had a personal matter to take care of this evening.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, it just came up last minute.
Oh, okay. Sorry, please change the record to reflect that Mr. Tovo is not in attendance.
Shall do.
Okay. There's no approval of meeting minutes, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're moving on to the general public discussion.
Do you have the PSA,
Sorry, what?
Stacy? Do you have a PSA that you want to read?
Oh, shoot. I don't have the PSA.
There's one in your packet.
Can you send it to me?
I can't from my cell phone. I'm not logged into my computer.
Okay.
Okay.
Stacy, can I get one short one in?
Sure, and I actually have another one too. So
Okay.
Go ahead.
Heard from the Director of Public Affairs about a half hour ago. She wanted me to remind the residents about our virtual Memorial Day parade. Check the website for more details. They are accepting pictures and short videos no later than tomorrow because then they need time to put it together. Thanks.
Thank you. A PSA for the task force. I'm happy to announce that we've had very limited requests for services in town. We've had a few people request masks. We've had a few people one person request a doctor's visit. They needed a ride, and very minor other items. I do have a tremendous amount of volunteers, so if anybody is in the need of a mask or multiple masks for your family, they are made of cloth and they're washable. If you're in need of a care package, which would consist of cleaning products, some dry goods, maybe some cereal. If you're in need of a hot meal delivery, please reach out to the Township of Washington COVID-19 Task Force. You can access the link on on the main page. There's actually a box at the top that says COVID-19 Task Force, and our phone number is also there. Okay, we're going to move on to the general public discussion. To participate in the general public discussion portion of the meeting, please dial in on 201-664-4659. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record, and we ask that only one person speak at a time. Please note that at the end of the general public discussion, no more calls will be accepted. Motion to open the public discussion.
So moved.
Have a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, let's see who's here. Hello, is there anyone there? Hello, is there anyone there for public comment? Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hello?
Hello, this is Michael Ullman.
Mr. Ullman, how are you?
Good, thank you, Ms. Wachowski, and how are you?
Good.
Mr. Oman, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Council President. I don't know, only because the audio was quite poor last week, if you were going to respond to my inquiry on the auditor, but I didn't receive any reply from you, and I was just wondering if you could reply to those comments this evening, now. What firms were considered? Who participated in the panel, the interview panel? The question about the agreement that the township entered into and the potential conflict of interest between the audit work that's being done and the consulting and accounting services that are being provided, and the fact that there are journal entries that are proposed by the firm, as well as partners and managers performing bank recs, leads me to believe that there is a strong potential for conflict, whether real or implied, at the firm. So while you have every right, and the council has every right, to evaluate who the auditor is and appoint an auditor, at the same time, we can't have a conflict of interest with that firm, I would think. And so if you could, I would appreciate a reply to those, either now or when you have the discussion, when you introduce the resolution.
So I do have, Mr. Allman, I did reach out to Vince Lurch Higgins, and I did ask them several questions prior to last week about how they handle conflict of interest, because I'm sure, as you're aware, being in the finance world, there are companies that use, say, EY for the same type of work, or PwC and Deloitte or J.H. Cohn, and I did get a response from them. So I will be reading that during the vote, during the discussion.
So you're talking about some of the largest multinational global firms in the world, and you're comparing a small municipal accounting firm with those organizations and their ability to maintain a segregation of duty. Again, my personal opinion is that, we have audit, we have people doing recs, we have people rolling over our system. Their hands are in every aspect of finance in the Township of Washington, and how they can say that they have an independent audit, I find hard to believe, quite honestly, and I would strongly suggest that you, as a council, avoid that conflict of interest, either by requesting the mayor or the administration find a new consulting and accounting partner, or you select another auditor.
Okay, so I'm just, are you saying that the processes that the multinational companies and the processes that this township are using are so far between that we don't have segregation of duties currently?
My apology, I didn't understand the comment, or if there was a question there.
I'm saying, from your past experiences being on the council, are you saying that there currently aren't segregation of duties?
I think there should. I don't believe there to be segregation of duties at LVH. I think that the line.
No, I was talking about in the township, in the hall, in the finance department.
Do I believe there's segregation of duties in the finance department?
Yes, in Washington Township, yes.
When I was involved, I believe there were some. I believe there were. However, when I had asked who was performing what roles earlier this year, and after I didn't receive a reply after 2.5 months, I'm not really sure. So.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Ullman.
You're quite welcome.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment?
Yes. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hello? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
This is William Ferrara, 2556 Cleveland Avenue.
Hello, Mr. Ferrara.
Hi. I wanted to, just watching Mr. Ullman's comments with Mrs. Feeney, and I wanted to make a statement. You asked, the question came up about whether or not there was segregation of duties within the finance department of the township. You only had one person, professional person, working in the finance department of the township last year, so I don't know how much segregation of duties is actually possible in that case. I have also a question. When I wrote my email of May 3rd, which nobody responded to, I put in it the last statement. In January 2019, the council passed Resolution 132, which canceled the $255,000 grant receivable and the $367,644 ordinance for stormwater drainage system repairs. They were covered under Ordinance 9 from 2006. They are still reflected in the 2019 post-closing trial balance. They should have been written off last year. So sometime between January 2019 and the end of the year, the then CFO should have made a journal entry to write them off. Now, if Lois Vinci has been involved in auditing the township books from 2006 to, I think, 2016, I wonder why he had never questioned why a grant receivable would be sitting out there for so long. Or if he did question it, he never made a comment on it. So I question exactly what you expect of him for his audit, and what you're getting for him from his audit. And the same thing goes for Mr. May, because he was there for 3 years, and he hadn't made a question about it. It didn't come up until January of last year. So I wanted to go on to something else now. I'll go to a simpler thing. Is the new auditor going to do an audit of the 2019 books or the 2020 books? I couldn't read. I read the resolution. I wasn't clear exactly which fiscal year he's going to audit.
Mr. Farrar, this auditor is for 2020. Lou May is the auditor for 2019.
Okay. The second thing I wanted to bring up was, when watching last week's meeting, I had the concern that you were debating whether or not $1.5 million or $1.6 million was going to be used for reserves against the town budget, and I don't know what the answer is. But I also had the impression that even if you use that number, that there will be a tax increase of $140 average on the average home in town. Is that correct?
Sue, I'm sorry. Could you just relay that last part? It was just garbled. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Stacy, I heard it. I can answer it if you like.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I'm sorry. I just missed the last part of it.
No problem. Hi, Mr. Farrar. Yes, the number is give or take based on what might be decided on the drainage tonight also. That number is $140. I would say give or take $5 on either side.
And that assumes using $1.5 million of the reserve, Mayor?
That 140 number is based on 1.6, which I will get into later.
Which 1.6? Okay. You have $4,338,000 in reserves as of the end of 2019, according to the trial balance. Does that include the $1 million sales proceeds from the sale of the school?
Mr. Farrar, could you just repeat the last part of your question?
Yes. The 2019 post-closing trial balance shows reserves of $4,038,000.
Yes, that's correct.
Does that include the $1 million proceeds from the sale of the middle school?
Yes, it does, Mr. Ferrara.
It does. You have other reserves on the book, something called other reserves of $1.8 million. What's in that number? I think you gave me the wrong answer. I think the $1.8 million has always been in the other proceeds. But the question I really have is, if you look at the economic situation, and I think you all know what it is right now, I can't see how the town can, in a good conscience, raise taxes this year. You've got $4 million in reserves on the books. What are they for? Again, except to support the town budget in a trying times. And I think what you should do is take enough money out of that reserve to offset the $140 tax increase. And if that puts the reserves down to $1 million, $1.5 million, so be it. But actually go, I don't know, when I turned on the TV at 7:30, I got the town insignia. I didn't get any sound for 10 or 15 minutes, and it was obvious that the meeting had been going on. Did the mayor report how many people died from COVID-19 again this week?
Mr. Farrar, I'm sorry, the meeting may have started a few minutes late. I apologize for that.
Okay. I mean, I just think for the town to raise taxes this year.
Mr. Farrar, I'm really sorry, but you are at 5 minutes, but just to let you know.
Okay, fine. Can I get one more thing in?
Sure, go ahead.
Related to finances, if you don't mind.
Yes, but in order to be fair, I do have to keep the time limit to 5 minutes.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Is there anyone else on the line? Anyone else for general comment? Anyone else?
Okay, motion to close public discussion.
Hello?
Hold on. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? There is someone here.
Okay.
Okay, could you please state your name and address for the record?
This is Anthony Conti from 490 Ridgewood Boulevard North.
Mr. Conti?
I submitted some questions about a week ago regarding the swim club, and I never received an email response from those. Can you tell me where it's at this point?
So, Mr. Conti, at this present time, there has not been any decision made on a DMF location, and there is no information. I was just formulating a response to you right before the meeting. There currently has not been any decision on where the DMF is going, and that's basically where the DMF property lies at this very moment. So in regards to your specific questions, that information hasn't even been gathered by anybody to take a look at or study, because there isn't a specific location that's really been floated yet. So that's one reason why we don't have the answers to your questions.
Okay, well, over 2 weeks ago, you had a phone conversation with Ms. Levy. I'm in conversation with her as well. And
I'm sorry, Ms. Who? I'm sorry, Mr. Conti, who?
Ms. Levy, they're on West Place. She submitted an email to you about a month and a half ago, I'm going to say, and you had a phone conversation with her, and you gave her quite an extensive. You gave her a lot of information regarding the swim club and what was going on, and so on and so forth. So I'm just.
I actually didn't give her any information. I just said the swim club is private, is not owned by the town, and I said whatever the swim club does with their property is up to them. That's the information I gave her.
Okay. Can I finish speaking?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So based on the information you gave her, one of my main concerns are the cost of the value of the homes and the value of the homes dropping because of the DPW being put at the swim club, if in fact that does happen. And I would like it in writing that I will be assured that the property values around the swim club will not depreciate because of what you do. And
again, the swim club has not been deemed as a site for the DMF. There has not been a decision made, and basically everything that's coming up on this is speculation. And at the present time, because there hasn't been a decision made on where the DMF is going, that we're not going to address speculation, but I do appreciate your comments and I understand your concern.
So will I be getting answers to my email?
Well, I can send the exact same response to you in your email, that's fine, but again, there has not been a site determined for the DMF, and everything that's being stated about housing prices dropping is speculation, and there is no concrete plan at the time.
Okay, so I will be waiting for my email response.
That's great. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else on the line? Is there anyone else on the line for general comment?
Okay, motion to close public discussion.
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Closed.
Okay, there's no second adoption tonight. There's no first introduction of anything tonight. Individual resolutions. This is council appointment, resolution number 20-215, award of contract to Gary J. Vinci of Lurch, Vinci, and Higgins as the township auditor. May I have a motion?
So moved. So moved.
A second? Okay, I'll second. We want to have discussion. I did reach out to Mr. Vinci to ask him about segregation of duties and how his firm handles it. If you'd like, I could read it to you. I could also forward you the email from him. I'll forward it to Sue and she could forward it on. Is anybody interested in hearing what they have to say?
Sure, I'd like to hear.
Okay, hold on one second. I'm just pulling up the email.
Any reason I didn't get a response from him, Stacy, when I called both him and Mr. Higgins?
I haven't spoken to him. I sent the email to him on May 14th. I sent the email to him on May 14th to get something in writing about segregation of duties. I haven't spoken to him since, Mike, I'm sorry.
I'm just, it's been a week that... It's been a week that you and I, it's been a week and, we haven't even received a call back from him. I mean, I can call Lou Mai right now and he'll pick up the phone. He picked up the phone while he was in the hospital with COVID-19. I mean, that's an issue because, if he's not going to take our calls, then how do we get our questions answered?
So on the other hand, I've had a completely different experience where I call him and he calls me right back. So,
well, Stacey, you and I spoke last week, and I said, "Can we conference him now?" And I hung up the phone like you said to. I googled his phone number. I left Mr. Vinci a voicemail, and I left Mr. Higgins a voicemail also. And to date, now it's been over a week. I still have not even had a return phone call or an email or anything.
And I completely understand, and the only thing I can say is that I did say you should give him a call and talk to him, and I don't know why he didn't return your call, but I do know from my own experience that he does call back right away, and I do get answers from him. So I know we've had two different experiences. Okay, so it says, he says, one of the main roles as auditors to perform an annual audit of the books and records maintained by the various township departments and employees. The township's chief financial officer will be the point person who we will interact with during an annual audit, and is also the person responsible for maintaining the township financial records, reports, and general ledgers. We do not maintain the accounting records, and we will not record any entries in the accounting records. If during the audit we feel that certain journal entries need to be made, we will discuss those adjustments with the CFO for determination, whether they should be recorded by the CFO. Audit journal entries are very common with any municipal engagements. An additional service that we will provide the township is the preparation of the year-end unaudited annual financial statements. That report is a regulatory document. The state of New Jersey permits that the registered municipal accountant to prepare and certify the AFS as a non-audit service. The second page of the AFS refers to the certification. I think statewide, most of the municipal auditors complete both the AFS and audit for their clients. Since LVH audits governmental entities, we are required by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants to have peer review performed of our internal practices, procedures, and financial audits by an independent licensed CPA firm. The review is conducted every 3 years. A separate report of the firm's system of quality controls is issued. We have, since the inception of LVH in 1990, received a pass rating with each peer review. The most recent report is attached to the proposal. So the proposal that we submitted explains the audit process, our professional responsibilities, including audit testing, management's responsibilities, and the professional services that we will provide the township. All of the services outlined do not impact our independence with completing the annual audit. I will forward this email to Sue so she can forward it to everybody.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to, did you all received copies of the proposal last week, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
It would have been nice to have been able to interview them as a council.
Have you ever done that in the past in previous auditor discussions, or just curious if that's ever happened before?
In my tenure, we didn't change the auditor, so.
We changed it from LVH to Lou Mai back in 2000, I guess it was 15 or 16, because there seemed to be some issues that came up at the end of the audit questions. And, you know, there was a lot of oversight, a lot of things that weren't cleaned up in the books. And as a council, we decided to go in another direction. Although the administration at the time decided to keep them for other professional services. So we thought it was a good idea to segregate the two functions, which seemed to work out pretty good.
What issues were? Do you know the specific issues that happened last time? What the issue was?
I guess it's the end of the year comments from the state. Things had to be cleaned up that were overlooked for several years. I mean, several years. We're talking like 10 years. Especially bonds that were sitting there for a very long time that were lost in the hither. We had to go to bank accounts and find out where these monies were and these bonds were, what their purpose was, what their functionings were. And when we had another auditor other than LVH, we seemed to find those things. So I'm just worried that we're going back to the same routine that we just spent time cleaning up. And that's my concern.
And you know, Council President, that's actually kind of what Mr. Farrar was saying with LVH not picking up on the 2019 that should have been written off, that item that he's talking about that should have been written off. So
yes, but I've heard similar issues with Lou May with other items around AP and other entries also. So from internally from last year.
Well, that's true. He didn't catch them all the first time.
Right. So I think that that there were mistakes with May, and there were also mistakes than what you're saying with LVH. So maybe it's also
there was 20 plus years of, I believe, in my opinion, lack of oversight. You know, and that's, you know, if you're on the job for 5-10 years, I get it. I understand you're still trying to clean up stuff. But 20 years, I can't go back, and I can't, you know, sleep with myself putting this firm back in charge of the town's finances, going off their past history. So I'm going to be voting no for this appointment.
Yeah, but I feel like you can't have it both ways. You can't say there was errors with one, and then there are errors with the other one.
Yeah, there are.
What errors? Can you?
There's no doubt about it.
But Mr. Castor just said that there were errors, and with Lou May, he agreed with me. So the thing is that you can't have both sides of the coin. I mean, you've got.
You can't expect one firm to go back and look 20, 25 years at something. You want to go 25 years of documents?
25 years at something?
Because
You know, one of the
that's how
things-
long they were there.
One of the
They
things
weren't there 20, LVH, I don't believe they were there 25 years. I believe somebody said it was like 2006 to 2000 something.
One of the things that sticks out with me for Lumet was that our previous CFO had mentioned multiple times prior to us even taking office, and then even after, that they didn't always actually answer her questions when she had some questions and wasn't sure really if certain things were feasible or allowable. She didn't really get the right response, which is why I was a little bit leery about Lumet, because the CFO kind of depended on that, and she had mentioned many times that I called and I asked, and they wouldn't. He said he couldn't help me. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah. So they would call up. They would say, "This is what's going on. We'd like to know what the entry should be. We're looking for the proper way to handle this journal entry or these transactions," and they would not get a straight answer from Lumet's team or Lumet.
That's my only.
Yeah, but there was
that's
also
what I'm
audit comments. There's also audit comments from 2019 that were revised because they didn't like the administration didn't like the way they read.
No, we're not talking about the administration contacting Lumet. We're talking about the CFO and her team specifically contacting Lumet and not getting an answer. And we asked them about that.
I never heard that. Never.
Well, we were told that. Desiree and I were both told that, and we asked those questions of Lumet, and that's the answer that they gave us.
Miss Curran told you that? That she didn't get answers?
Yes, she actually said it at one of the meetings. At a couple of the meetings. I called, I asked, and they wouldn't tell me.
You know what meeting that was at?
No, I'd have to go back and look.
That was at a council
We
meeting?
weren't in office yet.
Right.
So you were talking to...
She was talking at one of the meetings in 2019.
Yeah, she was talking at the meeting to someone on the panel. We were sitting in the audience, I guess. Mm-hmm.
And she actually said it at more than one meeting where she said, "I contacted Lumet and I asked for guidance." And another time she said, "I asked for the proper direction on how to handle the transaction, and I did not receive an answer."
Correct. That's right. Which is why we asked in the interview process.
So you interviewed Lumet and you interviewed LVH.
Yes, and that was right before
Who interviewed them?
the pandemic hit.
Yeah, but I'd like to know who interviewed them.
Who interviewed them?
So I met with LVH.
And I did too.
And I met with Lumet.
I met with Lumet.
What's her name? I can't remember her name at the moment. But it wasn't.
I think it's Kathleen, but I'm not 100% sure.
Mm-hmm. And I specifically asked her that question. I said, how available and accessible are you for us, for the CFO? And she had mentioned she was very, and I told her what my concern was because I had heard it straight from the CFO. I said, there's been some times where we've heard that certain questions are asked, and she said, well, I'm not going to give them the answer. That's their job as well. They should know what to do. We're not going to tell them yes or no. We can merely guide them.
Which, to me, from a financial perspective, if you're calling your auditor or you're calling your accounting team, whoever it would be, you pay them for their guidance, and if you're asking them on how to handle a transaction, they should be providing you with
you pay them to audit, not for financial advice. You pay them to audit. That's their job.
No, you also do pay them for financial advice on how to handle transactions.
And what's allowable,
saying
what's
that
not
she never got the
allowable?
answer, or she didn't get it when she asked it?
No, she never got the answers on more than one occasion.
So Mr. Vinci has been our person from the 90s, and I just looked it up. He created LVH. Well, he became a partner at LVH in 2006, but he's been the township representative since the 90s. So, Mr. Cassio, your statement is pretty correct.
I know it is. Thank you.
I just Googled it.
Here's the thing. Here's someone that's supposed to be giving you advice since the 90s, and it takes another auditor to come in to clean up stuff, the obviously incorrect advice that they've been getting. So I have a very difficult time going back to the same firm.
But again, Lumet had errors also. Lumet was not perfect.
Yeah, no one's perfect. But I'll take
exactly.
What errors?
A very valid point.
As opposed to 25
Stacey, can you point out the errors that you're saying Lumet had?
I don't have them in front of me. I do know that some of them were around some of the accounts payable and the purchase order transactions, and a few of them were how to book some capital items.
I'd like to see the errors because I had not seen them in my 2 years as tenure.
Okay.
I'd like.
I don't have them in front of me. I'm sure that if you go back, they're also in the audit notes.
I have last year's audit notes. I read them.
You guys received the reports on.
Yeah, in last year's audit, there was I didn't see any errors that were blamed on Lumet. And the year before, I didn't see any. There's nothing that states that Lumet and Associates made an error. I don't see it. I'd just like to know.
But that does also go back to the fact that we don't know if those were the questions that were asked in our team internally.
You said that Lumet made errors. That was your statement.
I didn't say last year. I said he has made errors in the past. If you go back to the audit notes, you'll see them.
But I'd like to say the last 2 years.
Councilman DeSena, I'm sure you'll see them in the audit notes.
No, I'm saying the last 2 years there was no audit notes that Lumet and Associates made an error. So I don't know if we could look at the 2 years before. I guess what's his fourth year of a 4-year term. But the 2 years I've been on council, I've never read. So you're making a statement that he made errors and it's documented somewhere. I'd like to see where it's documented. Because I think, the comments that were made in last year's audit offended people in the administration, and they took it, it was fact. They made him change the comment. He changed it. And this to me is payback. I think he's doing an outstanding job. He's found a lot of things that needed to be cleaned up. He's cleaned them up. And now because he put the mistake that Mrs. Curran found, and he put it into the audit, and even Mr. Pollard got involved in changing the wording of that comment, it's on the record.
It's a very broad statement that he made without knowing specifically what you're talking about and why it would be payback, and I don't think that's fair to the situation. We're talking about an auditor for 2020.
Stacey.
If you don't want to provide specific.
We have 5 people talking at once now.
I'm sorry. No, somebody was talking.
Okay, so Stacey?
Yes.
All right, can I speak for a second?
Yes, Mr. Pollard, please go ahead.
Yes, Mr. DeSena, what are you talking about that I changed or had changed language in the
You were involved in the audit comment about an employee that was made last year about the pay. And I'm not going to say names and get in trouble. And you were involved in changing those comments.
No. Excuse me. I love the way you say something.
No,
okay?
Mr. Pollard. That's
No.
Wait a second.
One at a time.
Wait a second, okay? There was an issue that came up. I was asked, actually, by the council to give an opinion and look into it, which I did. And I gave a legal opinion after I looked into it. I did not change any audit comments. I did not tell Lumet to change any language he used. I did not change a thing. So I just want to be clear. I just want to be clear when you throw.
I want to be clear that I disagree with you.
You think that I told Lumet to change wording?
Yes.
Okay. When was this? When was this?
That audit comment was changed from the first comment that was submitted to the final comment.
Wait a second. He may have changed it after he saw what I wrote in terms of my legal review of it, but I never told him to change anything or change the language. So I would appreciate you not making up stuff and just saying it when you.
I'm not making Mr. Pollard. That is my factual response. So that's what I remember.
Do you have anything in writing, Councilman DeSena, that Mr. Pollard told Lumet to change his response?
And the email trail.
Sorry?
I could show you the changes in the comments and the email trail.
No, could you show us in the email trail that it says that Mr. Pollard told Lou May to change the comments?
We can call him.
No, don't.
No, why don't you email so everybody can see what's going
Why
on?
don't you put up what you say once in a while? You know, you have a lot of things to say about people. Why don't you put it up in writing?
Ken,
One at a time.
You gave us your legal opinion, right? And you made him change the comments.
I didn't make him do anything. I gave a legal opinion, Mike.
All right.
I gave a legal opinion, and I gave it to you.
Listen, I believe at this time Mr. Pollard has said that he provided his legal opinion, which is his job. And Lou May also has a job, correct? And it's his decision. He has of his own sound mind and body whether he should change comments or not. I would like to know. It's his choice.
Well, you made a statement.
Mr. Pollard didn't make him do anything. If you could provide the email to the rest of the council so we could see what's being discussed.
And I promise you'll get it tomorrow morning. Just like we're waiting for stuff from last week.
Okay, so we can't come to an agreement on this right now, and I'm not comfortable voting at this moment. So can we
vote? I think that there's been a great deal. Excuse me?
I know there's a lot to think about right now. Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Cummings.
I said I think there's a great deal of innuendo being tossed about without factual substantiation. And I think that it's very questionable.
Mr. Cumming, my fact is that the audit comment was changed, and I will stick by it. It is not innuendo. It is fact. And
yeah, but what you're innuendoing, the innuendo is that Mr. Pollard made Mr. May change it. When that's where the innuendo lies, not whether the comment was changed. Your innuendo says Mr. Pollard made Lou May change it, which would also then call Lou May's character.
Guys, one at a time.
That would call Lou May's character into play, because did he change it for reasons that he didn't believe it? Then that doesn't really, if he stands by his opinion, he stands by his opinion. Just because one professional gives another professional an opinion doesn't mean he's required to change his comments.
Okay.
I'm going to pull the past audit comments, the last 10 years. Madam Clerk, I'm going to open them tomorrow, and I'll produce them for LVH. I'll send you that tomorrow if you want to see those comments.
They're online.
Yes, they're all online.
The audits are on there.
Okay.
So we can, whatever you would like to do, Councilman, if you want to send an open request in, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I'll open it and other supporting documents. I'll have it to you tomorrow. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still on?
I'm here.
Okay, so
Madam President, I'd like to motion for the resolution for the auditor. So my motion for the auditor.
Well, you have a motion already by Councilwoman Morgan and seconded by Council President Feeney for second.
Call a roll.
So has everybody finished discussing this? Does anybody else have anything else they want to discuss about this before we do the vote?
This is Art. I think they're perfectly qualified. I interviewed them. I reviewed their history and their background and their list of clients and all the other submittals, and I think they're perfectly fit to be our auditor. That's my final comment.
And keep in mind, this is a one-year term.
It's 1 year?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 1 year.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Okay, Sue. Like Councilman Casio said, let's vote. Does anybody else have any other comments before we vote? Okay, like Councilman Casio said, let's vote.
Councilman Casio.
No.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
No.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes.
Okay. You have 3 yeses and 2 nos. We can move on.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Stacy?
Oh, yes.
I didn't want to chime in because, as you all know, the auditor is not a mayor appointment, it's a council appointment. But there have been some serious accusations tonight. I think that based on that, all the documentation should be gathered and give the firm a chance to respond to it.
Well, I think, okay, but I also think that all the documentation is available. It's public record, all the audit reports, all the audit notes and everything, so.
Okay, just my suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk to them about it.
Okay.
Also, yeah. Thank you. Approval of fire department bylaws. Fire department bylaw change, Article 2, Section 3, membership. Everybody is, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Okay, I'll second. Does anybody want to discuss this, or we're good? Okay, Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, before we move on to the next section, I just want to make sure everybody received the amended resolutions in their email for 188 and I believe also 189.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Casio, did you get the amended resolutions?
I did receive it, yes.
Yes.
Okay, Councilman, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. The following items have been determined to have unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Does anyone have any of the resolutions listed below? So 188, 189, 192, 214, 216, 217, 218, 219, 220 that they would like removed before we can vote on the rest of the items?
I'd like 214 polls, please.
Okay. Anybody else?
No, I'm fine with them.
Okay.
Okay, motion. Stacy, you're going to do 214 first? You want to do the vote first?
No, let's do the vote first and then move on to the open one, at least we can get those other ones closed.
Okay.
Motion to approve consent agenda resolutions except for number 20-214. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
I'm sorry, who's second?
Mr. Cummings, second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, 214 is the bill list.
Motion,
Correct,
please.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Motion, please, in second first before discussion.
All right, may I have a motion for resolution number 20-214?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second it. Councilman DeSena, you're up.
On page 3, I have some questions regarding some entries. We have 2020 GAN law book.
That's probably me.
They're for you. Okay.
It's one book. I got the last one, I think, 3 years ago.
Okay. And then on page, we have Optima Communication Systems. We have a service call, an additional hour of labor. And
Wasn't that a repair, I thought, that was discussed?
what is that for?
Mr. Mayor, I know Mr. Tovo's not here, or Sue, do you know?
I'm not sure, Mike,
I think it was to set up the phone bridge that we
that's
are.
what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yes.
I was
Okay.
gonna ask when it was done.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I just would like to know what it was. That's all.
Sure.
And the same. And then on page 4, I have a question. We hired Dutra again to do some sewer backup and clean out cut and riser. I thought from the riser to the house is the homeowner's responsibility. Mr. Fowler?
Mike, I don't know the specifics on it. At least I don't recall them. What I would suggest is they obviously did the work, so if you approve it, I'll be happy to get an answer. Me or Mr. Tovo will in the next day or two.
I'd just like an answer. And then on page 6, why are we paying for summer camp buses almost a year later?
We never received the bills, and then when they called looking for them, they resent them.
That's fine, Mr. Mayor. I just,
Yeah. Certainly a valid question.
Yeah.
I kind of asked the same thing when I saw it.
Yeah, like $5,000. Somebody didn't realize that we owed him $5,000 a year later. I mean, that's bad accounting practice on their end, but that's fine.
Yeah.
That's all I have on the bill list, Stacy. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I just had one question. I was just curious what they were doing. I saw that there was training on here. Are they doing the training remote now with the pandemic going on, or they haven't decided yet? On page 3? For the zoning? For those are just the books? Are they doing any training online?
Yes, there is a training online. This is, I'm trying to find on page 3. I just heard from Barbara, she was trying to get it through. They've done an online training now for planning and zoning. And since we have some new members, we need to get them trained.
Okay, good. No, I just, I think that's great that they're going to do it online.
Yeah.
They're not holding it up. The only other question I had is I see that we're paying for the lacrosse uniforms. I'm assuming that they're just going to be held for next year. I know that goes to Joe and
We're meeting later this week to decide if we're going to hold them or give them out to the people and let them hold it and deduct whatever it was off of the refund.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Does anybody have any other questions on the bill list, or is everybody good?
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good. You took my questions. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, I did not know I took your question.
Now, could we confirm that Optima is for setting up the our present call system?
I'll be happy to. I'm 99% sure, but I will confirm.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, I also made a note too, so between the two of us, we'll figure it out.
Thank you, Sue.
Thanks very much.
Sure.
Okay. Motion to approve resolution number 20-214. May I have a motion?
We have a motion, we have a second, now we're at the roll call.
Okay, roll call, Sue. Thanks.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're on to, I believe that that's correct, adjournment to conference agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, hold on, I'm just getting to the page.
I guess, in the absence of Mr. Tovo, are we not doing the project tracker?
Hmm.
I guess.
Can we ask the mayor? Can we ask the mayor?
Only if the mayor has an update on the project tracker. If not, we can ask for him to send us our, if we have questions, we could give them and put them in writing and have Mr. Tova get back to us later this week.
Yeah, I'll be happy to answer what I can, and what I can't, I will refer to him.
Okay, do you want to go over the project tracker, Mr. Mayor, for us, from what you can tell us?
Yeah, I'd be happy.
Or no?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, the grant writer, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure. Did you all get a report from the grant writer?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any questions on it?
Where is the dog park going to be located at Cherry Field?
I don't have the exact answer, Mike, but I'd be happy to get it for you.
Okay.
Next one, town hall light repairs due to drainage project. I know they were waiting for the warmer weather to come to do some seal coating, I believe, either on the inside wall or outside wall. Have to be honest, I don't know if they've been in yet. The weather, as we all know, only got decent in the past couple of weeks. The access control, really no update on, at least not that I am aware of, so I'll ask.
Where is that, Mr. Mayor, where is that funded, the access control?
Again, I'm sorry, Mike, I don't know offhand.
We find that out? I'd hate to put the
Yeah.
cart before the horse again.
Councilman, you need to speak into your phone, please.
I would like to know where it's funded from before we put the cart before the horse and not be able to do it again.
You got it. The trees along the property line, I'm not sure. Art, did you get involved with this at all, or?
I was asked to be involved by Mr. Tovo, and I responded that I'd be thrilled to be involved. And I don't believe we've had the opportunity to get together. I haven't been asked to come up and meet with him at any specific time. I will see him Wednesday, so I will address things on Wednesday.
Okay, and if I remember correct, but I don't want to swear to it, I believe the one neighbor who's been active was wintering in Florida, and it could be with a COVID that they have not come back yet. But again, I don't want to swear to that because I know a lot of people's travel plans got disrupted.
That may well be true. We have neighbors across the street who are debating right now whether even to come back to our, quote, hotspot.
Okay, the tracking software, I don't know if the training has been scheduled yet or not. The road program, I want to talk about it here because I know it's also later on in the conference agenda.
If you want to do the road program now, Mr. Mayor, that would be fine.
Okay. Again, we've been having, when I say we, the administrator has had a couple of meetings, phone meetings with PSE&G because they, from what he tells me, are doing, or at least planning to do some aggressive work in town. And so we want to make sure that our streets don't overlap their streets. There is another conference call I know scheduled for this Wednesday. Last I heard, they still expect to start the paving sometime in June.
I'm going to take a mini break. I'm going to leave the mic for a minute if you'll excuse me, please.
Okay, would anybody like to take a 5-minute break?
Sure.
We could do it since Art needs one.
5 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Ricky? Okay, so, Mr. Mayor, you finished with the project tracker for Mr. Chovo, thank you.
Well, wait, we finished at the end of the road program.
Oh, right, okay.
So if it's okay, I'd like Ken to answer the intersection part, because with Bob not here, Ken is the next one who's been mostly involved with it. So, Ken, if you don't mind.
Sure, not a problem.
Thank you.
So essentially, there are three easements that are underway in terms of acquiring them, and there are different stages of what we're doing. All of them potentially, are under condemnation approaches, but condemnation requires a certain amount of negotiation. I'm actually optimistic that we may be able to have agreements on all of them. There are different stages. There's attorneys involved. I don't want to go into the specifics right now. I'll be happy to have a closed session to, bring you up to date on any back and forth and things like that. Obviously, no decisions are made until they're brought back to the council anyway, and they would be discussed in closed session. But they're all pretty good. I mean, they're all in very, very good shape, and they're all moving forward. So that's where we are. If you want to have a closed session the next time around, that's fine with me. Whatever you want. But they're all moving forward, and I'm optimistic on all of them, actually.
Thanks, Ken.
Okay.
Class 7 dump, still awaiting the delivery. Breathalyzer, been on here for years, just waiting for a state contract. Radio system upgrade. When Bob even thought that he wouldn't be able to attend tonight's meeting, I believe he sent out one of his recent communications with the consultant to everyone. Apologized for not giving you more notice. He had hoped to explain it, but like I said, he had something come up. So don't know if you've had a chance to review that email, but when you get a chance to, that's kind of the latest status on that project. Renovations to DMF. We're working on 2 locations to house temporary. One, the lease is being negotiated. Well, actually, both places the lease is being negotiated. Obviously, the council will have to sign off on both of those when we're ready.
When will we have information, Mr. Mayor, about both locations?
I'm sorry, Mike, I couldn't hear you too good.
When will we get the information so we can start reviewing it?
I would say, Ken, is that better done and closed also, since it's kind of negotiations?
Ken? Mr. Pollard?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear what Mike said, so I can't answer.
When will we get the information? When will we get the information of which 2 properties are being looked at and what the lease arrangements are?
The temporary DMF.
Okay. I see.
I suggested we might want to do that in closed also.
Closed, yeah, exactly. To start with, anyway, exactly.
So whoever's putting things on for the next agenda, if you want to put on, the renovations and the intersection acquisitions.
Sue, could you put that on for the next, please?
And Mr. Pollard, we'll talk more about this?
Yes. No, just put for the closed session for the intersection and the DMF temporary location.
Okay. The basketball courts, I believe the work is being scheduled. I think I heard Bob, or overheard Bob, discussing it with the contractor to say, since the parks are closed, scheduling, can be almost any time, and I think they're looking to do it sooner than later. Signage is what it is. Renovations to the firehouse. I spoke to the architect last week. Barring anything unforeseen, he does expect to be able to put the bid package out by the end of this month.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
My pleasure.
Mr. Poller, you're next. The draft ordinance naming streets honoring veterans.
I did draft that, right? That was to you. You already have that, right?
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, you have that.
yes, they have it. It's in their packet.
I didn't have any questions on it. I thought it looked great. Does anybody have any questions on this, or can we put this on the agenda coming up?
I think it looks
Can we
great.
please put it on the next agenda, please, Stacy?
Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody have any questions regarding it?
I'm okay with the language. Next meeting.
Okay. Sue, would you please add this for the next meeting?
Sure will.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
I just want to thank the council for its support on getting this done.
It's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Okay, the next item is video conferencing update. I spoke to a company. It's called Ninja. It's NYNGA, I believe, is the way you spell it. I had Ninja speak to Jim McGee, who is the IT person at AuthoriNet, and also with Ricky, our lovely TV station guru. They both said that Ninja would work with WCTV and as a secure option, and would also give Sue the requirements to retain the documentation needed. I'd like to move for our next meeting. It costs roughly $9 a month.
Oh my God.
So, and it would be a secure option for us. What do you guys think?
I like it.
Or it would be a virtual
it.
meeting platform.
Let's do it.
I'm good with
Yep.
it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'll
that's
work
right.
the information and it up and running for the next meeting as soon as possible. So, but just so you know, I did have them speak to the appropriate parties who would have all the technical knowledge that I don't.
Stacy, may I
Yes.
ask that they speak to OBS also, just to double check on how it's going to feed into our recording system?
I don't know if it's going to, but there's going to be a DVD and CD available for you to have. It would be permanent record and also a storage on a, hold on, wait, let me get the details on that. It is storage on, hold on.
Because I also had a conversation with OBS who said that if you wanted to go with the other one, Zoom, they work very well with the FTR program that we're using right now.
Okay, but we are also, there are security issues that we're having, that there are with Zoom that have been going on.
Right.
Just hold on 1 second, Sue. It is, oh, shoot.
Yeah, if we could just connect.
There is a hard drive storage capability.
All right, well, if they could just double check with each, well, actually, Jim should be able to do it. I'll talk to Jim. As long
Jim
as it's
said,
good,
yeah.
I'm happy, that's good.
So he said, yeah, there's a piece that can be stored on the hardware.
Okay, good.
So we should be good. So for $9 a month, I think this is a great option and will meet a lot of our needs. And everybody's going to have to do their hair.
Oh my God, you mean? Oh, that's right. Haircuts and shaving, and no more yoga pants.
Yeah.
Only if you get up.
Art TMI.
All right, if you're going to wear your yoga pants, let me know. I'll make sure I'm watching through the kitchen window.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. I heard that on television today.
Okay.
I wouldn't be caught dead.
Okay, does anybody have any more questions regarding the video conferencing? Okay.
No.
Is the NG Road repaving update for 2019 work in the trenches, Councilman DeSena?
Well, are we, Mr. Mayor, do you know, I know they started replanting some trees. Are they doing all of them all over town or just certain areas?
I believe that now once they have started, they plan on getting through the whole town, but I'll get Bob to confirm that.
I did see a bunch of plantings in town in front of the Roberts Place, and a little further down I saw some trees being planted. They looked great.
Yeah, no, they're working on it. So I know Mr. Tolo had said it wouldn't be till next year. That's why I was impressed that it's getting done. Where are we with the physical line work? Do they think they'll have it done before school starts in September, Mr. Mayor? Being optimistic that, the kids are back to school in September?
Again, I'm going to defer that one to Bob because he's been in total communication with PSE&G. So if it's okay, I'll punt that one to him.
And have we made any progress at the intersection with where the poles are going yet, or are we still working on that?
I'm 90% sure that it is decided where they would like to go, but it has to do with acquisition of property also.
Okay. Okay.
It would be nice if they can do it during the time that we're shut down because there's so much less traffic, I know.
Well, that's what I was hoping, yeah.
Okay. Communication report. I know Mr. Tobo is not here, but we all did receive an email regarding that.
I have to review that email, to be honest. I'm sorry.
So I think, Councilman DeSena, we're going to have to wait for Mr. Tobo in order, because he sent the, did you see the email?
Yes, I did see it. I just was a little concerned. I mean, it's a 3-page email. It was like, it's a 50 to 70, it's a huge effort. So I just want to, I hope there's more.
Well, maybe my suggestion would be.
Yeah, why don't we hold off?
Tobo's not here. Why don't you put some questions in writing, and then we'll all have the questions.
Fine.
Yeah, that email is only a subset of the whole project.
That's what I was hoping.
Right. Yeah.
I know that the mayor gave an update on the street paving for 2019 for the whole road program.
Right.
Any other questions regarding that?
So, Mr. Mayor, you had said you had a June start date, tentatively?
That's what I hear, Mike, yes, from what Bob has kept me up to date on.
Now, did we ever get our repayment from the county for all the ADA ramps that we footed the bill for last year that have been completed? And I know that it still shows as outstanding.
Councilman DeSena, what happened to your phone just now?
Yeah, I was about to ask the same thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have moved. My phone must have moved. Sorry.
It happened.
No, it's just we didn't. No, I didn't hear you. I don't know if anybody else did.
All right. No,
I couldn't hear him.
In 2019, we did all the ADA ramps along Ridgewood and Washington, and we footed the bill for that, and we had to pay and the county's supposed to reimburse us. Can we find out the status of the reimbursement?
I'll be happy to have Bob do that. Yes.
It's about it's $120 something
right.
dollars. It's a lot of money. So
yep.
Get that back in our coffers. That'd be great.
I'll follow up with Bob on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we all received the drainage report. I was going to ask Boswell to come and address it, but then again, I thought that after I reread the report a few times, it was pretty straightforward that this is a neighbor-to-neighbor issue, and in my opinion, I don't believe the town is responsible for the drainage issue based on this drainage report. That was the reason I wanted to put this on this line. But again, after I read this and knowing some of your background, I figured we probably all would come to the same conclusion.
Yes.
I agree with you, Stacy.
Yes, I agree with you.
Okay. So that's all for the council section. The next section is the submitted questions that were submitted on Thursday in writing of this week regarding the budget.
Yes, Stacy, if it's okay, I have a medium-sized statement to make. I won't say short, I won't say long. So
okay, that's fine.
Indulge me, please.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The budget was prepared during the last quarter of 2019 and January 2020 and submitted to the council at the beginning of February. Since then, as we all know, the world has been thrown into an unforeseen crisis unlike anything any of us have experienced in our lifetimes. The township, unfortunately, has not been spared. Residents are experiencing hardships. These hardships are likely to continue. Township residents have been laid off from work or have seen their incomes reduced. Many people are finding that the financial crisis can be almost as significant as the health crisis. There was no way to forecast or predict where we would find ourselves today when the budget was submitted to the council. Therefore, as has been done in every prior year, after the expenditure part of the budget is finalized by the council, we have firm numbers to evaluate, see how much of the available surplus should be used to defer any tax increase to the residents. That amount was available after the council meeting on May 4th. At that point, as in previous years, I asked Lurch Vinci Higgins to run scenarios as to what the tax impact to the residents would be, using the originally proposed number of 1.5. And then due to the hardships that so many of our residents are experiencing, I also asked them to run the same things with amounts of 1.6 million and 1.7 million. The original 1.5 amount was proposed by me and approved by the council before anyone could know how disrupting the COVID crisis would be to so many township residents and households. Those amounts preliminarily came out to annual increases of $167, $140, and $107, respectively. Using 1.6 million of the 4 million surplus would still leave a strong amount of 2.4 million to have on hand. We don't know how long it might take the economy to recover, and this will leave us enough if we need to do an additional amount of the surplus again next year. Since the budget introduction was already late due to the difficulties of COVID-19 and because of restrictions placed on public officials by the Open Public Meeting Act, barring any communications outside of a public meeting, I made a decision to alter the original recommended amount and approved amount by the council. Excuse me.
Mr. Mayor, you all right?
Yeah, yes, I am. Just something got caught in my throat. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, as long as you're okay.
Yeah. So let me repeat that sentence. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Take your time.
Thanks. I made a decision to alter the original recommended and approved amount by using the 1.6 million amount in the budget being introduced to the public. I intended to be present for the May 11th meeting to explain exactly just what I laid out. Regrettably, a last-minute situation forced me to be absent from that meeting. I certainly did not mean it to cause the confusion and disruption that it did. I was simply proposing one more way to give our residents who are having a difficult time financially due to COVID-19 a little extra relief this year by using more of the town's healthy surplus that the taxpayers have funded. Now, having heard my reasoning, I hope the council will consider using the 1.6 million amount or even raise it to the 1.7 amount. People are hurting. There's no doubt about that. But I believe, as a great many residents do, that we can provide both tax relief as well as continue our town's forward progress in so many vital, much-needed areas. Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
So I hope that cleared up a lot, and like I said, I apologize for all the confusion at the last meeting since I couldn't attend.
Councilwoman Feeney.
Yes.
I would like to open a discussion with the council to go with 1.8 million of the surplus so we could get the increase under $100 based on the mayor's scenarios. Do we have any takers on that?
I'm okay with that.
I think 1.7 is significant and will be helpful, although I think that your thoughts are laudable.
I would like to just keep it under $100. That's my take, Mr. Cumming. We have the money in the surplus. Let's keep it under 100. I think we've done our due diligence then, and let's discuss other ways we can bring the budget down on top of that.
Well, with the drainage item, the drainage line coming out, how much is that?
$125,000, Stacey.
So that's a great savings right there. I'm okay with the 1.8. I think that's a great idea, Mr. DeSena.
Because it'll be with the 125 coming out, Stacey, it puts us at like $50 increase on our end, right, Mr. Mayor? Would you agree with that approximation?
Based on the three scenarios they ran, it's approximately $25 per 100,000. So
if we go to 1.8, it drops it from 104 to 80, and with the 125 coming out for drainage, it brings us down to right about $50, which I think is a very applaudable. I applaud the council if we could do that.
The other is we want to make sure that we're in line with the plan to make sure that we do have surplus. We don't deplete it fully. So, just keeping that in mind with the 1.7 will still bring us down with the 125 coming out. Additional.
Absolutely.
For the drainage line. Because then that would technically be the 1.8.
Mm-hmm.
So with the 125,000 coming down,
Brings
right?
us under 100. Mm-hmm.
Brings us under 100. You're
we
right.
do 1.7, we would be under
We'd be about 80.
100.
Yeah, it'd be about $80, which is fine.
Yep.
I mean,
With the
that's-
1 point,
doing this.
right, with the
1.7.
1.7.
But I, on top of that, I would just like.
No, just wait, right? Just to make sure everybody's clear. If we have the 125,000 coming out for the drainage, we go to 1.7, we will still be under 100 then.
Correct.
Would be at $80, yeah.
Correct, we will. Okay.
But I'd still like to discuss other things in the budget just for this year to bring it down even more, because I think, if
Well, we
take
also
out-
said we talked about everybody was going to submit those questions they had, and that we were going to try to close the budget out, which we really have a very short time frame now to be making significant changes. The state will not be happy with us. And since we've already asked for an extension, we're on our second extension. If we can get the number down with the questions we've already submitted, let's start at the starting point instead of going backwards.
I'm not saying to go backwards. I just think there's areas that, we could look at just for 2020.
Again, let's start with the questions we've already put forward. And then, because we said so far, I've got 125,000 right off the top that we just agreed to about a half an hour ago was going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did you get an answer on the
So now you're from 1.5 to 1.62.
I'm sorry, Councilman, what did you say?
I said the original was 1.5 before the change, before the mayor's change. Okay? So right now that's what we agreed to was 1.5, not 1.6.
No, we were talking about 1.7.
Wait. The original document had 1.5, right? And then you're taking 125 from drainage, correct? So now you're at 1.625. So we could still whittle, I think, out of this budget if we hold to last year's salaries and compensation, easy another 125 and you retain your surplus at a decent rate. I mean, I'm all for using surplus. I don't think there should be $2 million in surplus or $4 million, period. Because that's just money we're holding on from the taxpayer. Or an event like this. I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime event that we need to use it. That's what the money's there for. But I still think we can probably wiggle it down and maybe reserve some of that surplus and hold to last year's compensation, and then we're easy at that 1.8, bring it under $80 increase. Just a thought.
Let's talk about compensation. The only compensation that we really, police compensation is contractual, correct?
Excuse me?
What's that? Say it again?
Police compensation salaries are contractual.
Police and DPW.
EMS.
Now DPW.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, DPW. They're contractual. So what you're speaking about then is town hall, correct?
Yeah, everyone in town hall, correct. That's correct.
The non-contract.
So how much, do you know how much it is do you know what the impact is?
I didn't do the calculation, but it's probably in the area of $60,000 plus.
I think that's a little high.
Okay, so what's the
If we're talking
what's the
just
number that you
about
have?
if we're talking
Just about
the
town hall,
only
it's
a
not,
couple of them. Maybe
right,
10?
it's not,
Maybe around 10?
maybe 9, maybe 8,000?
No, I already have 36 from one line item.
For who?
You have a big chunk back in the Department of Law. You have $10,000 at the administrator. You have, where else do you have it? You have it also at the chief of police. You also have it as a DMF superintendent.
I don't believe
Those lines alone are about 60,000.
Just want to make a quick statement because I think you're talking two different things. Some of those were to bring people up to market rates, and then some were just, I'll say, the usual 1.5% increases. So I think you're maybe talking two different things.
No, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just want to make sure everyone's aware.
Some that are 1.5, and there are some that were market. Okay? So, again, hold it to last year's compensation.
Yeah, I was talking.
We're all struggling. Everyone in town struggling financially. You know, and I think
again, the council could give up their stipends.
I'll give up my 1.5% increase, no doubt about it.
No, I'm talking about the whole amount instead of impacting people's whole salaries. Would be a very large token of good faith if the whole council gave up their stipend. Then we wouldn't have to touch the people who are working for us very hard their salaries.
You're not working hard, Ms. Feeney?
This is something that I do on a volunteering and getting
volunteer it. You can volunteer yours. That's
this
fine.
is what I'm saying. Don't mind. I did let you speak. Thank you very much. As a whole, if we did it collectively, it would be a large chunk of what you're saying.
We can all take the hit of 1.5% plus total compensation. That's what I'm willing to do.
But then we don't want to bring people up to market.
I'm not worried about what the market is.
Okay, I think we're really getting off. Let's go back to the questions that were on Thursday.
That's my offer. So anyway.
Let's talk about the questions that were submitted on Thursday. Okay, let me just get to the lovely list. Okay, so the surplus question was answered for why it was changed and what happened with that. I had brought up a question regarding the waste and the water use.
So what's that?
I know Mr. Tovo's not here. For the BCUA account?
Yeah, I mean, that's a best guess. It could go higher. No one knows how long this is going to last. We raised it thinking it would last 3 months. But let me say, if you feel there should be some more in there, it's something that the administration would support.
I mean, Councilman DeSena, since we're now talking about this going further than we talked about, say, a month ago, what's your opinion? We're at $800,000 for the BCUA account.
I think that's.
I don't want to have to rob another account later on.
I think at this point, that's the best guesstimate you could do, because it's going to be a guesstimate. Because like you said before, the governor has started the reopening plan. If it gets pulled back and people don't go back, it's going to cause a disservice to us. But it's the best guesstimate. I don't think you could put too much in there, because then we may have to dig somewhere later or do an emergency funding for it. It's a valid COVID-19 expense. That's the only way you could treat it, Stacy.
I wonder if we can put that through FEMA. I'm just kidding. I know we can. I'm just saying that would be nice. Okay, it was just a thought, because I know we talked about it, but people are staying home more, and it's a concern, how much more of a bill are we going to have?
It's definitely going to be more.
I'm sorry, Councilman DeSena, you were going to say something?
It's definitely going to be more, but, adding what we've added to it, I think is at least we've made an effort to show that we may have to dig out of some account to find the money when the bills actually come in next year in 2021.
Right. Okay.
I mean, we just got to be cognizant of that, and that's where we got to tighten up the belt buckle, our belt buckle, and hopefully get through this pandemic.
That's always done in every government, and in all accounting. When we interviewed the person from Fairlawn, she said specifically in her interview as the CFO that first you go and solve the problem, and then you always turn to the CFO to say, where's the money? Mm-hmm. And we are in an exceptional circumstance now, but I would not cut the salary increase for our employees That's the last thing, and I will not start on another rant, but I really am against that. And I would rather go with Councilman DeSena's suggestion that we delve in the COVID crisis deeper into our reserve if that's necessary. The 1.8 sounds like a better idea to me than beginning to cut salaries. I will never go with that. Thank you.
Okay, and does anybody else want to bring up any other questions from the list from Thursday just so we can get through it and close it out?
Did you get an answer on the garbage truck, Stacy?
I did. If you look at LVH's, I had gone back and looked again because I know you and I had talked about it, and I went back. If you look, the actual $250,000 is under 2021. It's for future planning. It's not for 2020.
No, thank you. Okay, I thought I saw that.
So the garbage truck is not, the garbage truck is not in the 2020 budget. It's for future capital spend.
Have we, Mr. Mayor, do we know that new garbage contract from ECUA? What is our rate currently versus that contract? That's what I wanted to ask because we didn't have that until today, but we just got that email today from Mr. Tovo.
Mike, I'm sorry, I must confess I do not. Again, Bob has this stuff right in his head, being the full-time administrator, so I don't know offhand.
But I'd like, what's the current tonnage rate versus what the new one will be under this new contract? Because that may have an impact also because, people are home cleaning out their houses, which is fine.
Right.
Our tonnage is going to go up because we are collecting more debris at the DPW yard.
Absolutely.
And I guess the biggest question we also, the residents are asking, Mr. Mayor, do we have an idea of when solid waste pickup at the curb will begin?
Let me say, don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but the administrator and I are meeting with the senior DMF people on Wednesday, I believe, and we'll be coming out with a schedule.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Thank you for that update. Appreciate it.
Yep.
And I bet you the residents do also.
Sure.
Okay, so that clears up the misunderstanding around the garbage truck.
Excuse me, Stacy.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
On the resolution that you just approved for the solid waste, it states in here from 2018 through May 31st, 2020, the tonnage rate is $66.39 per ton. The new would be at $69.05 per ton.
So it's approximately $3 more.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Okay.
All right.
I thought I read it somewhere.
I must have read right by it in my...
Okay, so on the list, there's just some other questions about paperwork and chain of custody. I believe those are going to be set in writing, correct, Mr. Mayor?
To be honest with you, I was hoping my explanation as to why I did and, my apology for not being able to attend the last meeting, that it would kind of make those questions moot. But if anyone wants me to do them, I will look at them further.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Sweeney, can I make a statement really quick that's in line with Mr. Cummings?
Can we just want to, I think I just want to see if we can, okay, are there any other questions on any other line items on the budget? Or is everybody good with everything that's in the budget right now that we have approved? I'm trying to get to a point where we can move forward. So just the expense item.
I would like to make a motion that, I understand surplus, this is a...
Talk up, Michael, you're garbling.
Michael,
and Councilman, I'm just talking about the expense items.
No, I'm okay with all the expenses right now as long as...
I just want to finish that one section if you don't mind. So I'd like to know if any council member has an issue with any other expense items or wants to do anything else with any of the expense items in the budget as of this moment, or can we move forward?
I'd like, as long as we change the capital and zero at the drainage line.
The 125, we already said that's coming off. But I'm saying, anything else that we haven't discussed tonight?
No.
I'm okay with it right now.
I'm okay with it.
What about the change to 1.8 million?
Well, we're not there yet. We're just talking about the expense item.
Okay.
I'm okay with 1.8 million, Art. That's what the
Just
surplus is.
please stick to the question at hand. I just want to go over the expense items. Is everybody good with the line item removing the $125,000? The garbage truck is in 2021. there any other expense item anybody wants to change? I'm trying to get consensus so we can close that section of the budget.
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
Okay with this.
And then consensus.
Okay,
Stacy?
lovely. Now, yes, Mr. Mayor.
Just want to add one thing that I just thought of. Taking out the 120 or 125 from drainage, that was in capital, not operating, so it will not be a direct reduction to the operating budget.
That was in capital.
Killjoy.
Yes,
Yeah,
you are
seriously.
right.
Okay, I just want to find it on the capital section to make sure everybody's on the same page. It was 125,000. I have 120. Okay, just so everybody's aware, it's on sheet 40C1 at the top, 120,000.
We could vote.
Okay, so that reduces this to 355. Okay.
So if we go back to my, what Mr. Cumming agreed to and Dr. Casio, if we go to 1.8, it'll bring us to about a $70 to $80 tax increase for 2020, which I
And
did
1.7 though, that does bring us under 100 also, because that'll bring us to.
No, it brings us to 106. Yeah.
Just a suggestion, do you want to split the difference and go 175?
We'd be under 100 then.
I'd like to see us get
I mean,
to the
175 is a good compromise and would be a good show that we're working together.
I think 1.8 is a good.
1.8
show
is
that we're
good.
working together.
We got the money sitting there for an emergency. This is an
Well,
emergency.
it's not just sitting there, especially like you said before. It is a pandemic, and we don't know how long this is going on. And I just would like to make sure we have funds if we need it longer than we thought.
Right. Please just keep in mind that they are anticipating a second wave.
Yes. We don't really know how long this is going to be.
That's why
We do 175.
I'd
What's the
like
difference?
to
We're
make
under
a motion
100.
for 1.8.
What's that, Mr. DeSena? I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion for 1.8 of surplus being used for 2020 to bring the residents' burden within $70 to $80. I know it's a lot of money to come out of surplus, and it's going to be hard to recuperate that in this environment, especially with the governor announcing that we have a $10 billion shortfall. But I think it's the right thing to do with the surplus at this time during this pandemic.
I'd like to second Mr. DeSena's 1.8 million surplus.
Can I ask?
Do we want to discuss this further before the votes, which everybody has the right to do?
Can you just tell me? I don't have the numbers in front of me. What's left if we do that in surplus?
So currently there's 4,038,000, I believe.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, that's correct, right?
Sorry, I was distracted for a moment. If you could repeat that?
So there's 4,038,000, correct?
Correct.
So if we take 1/8, roughly, and I know there's an exact surplus number, so I'm just taking the whole amount.
2.238 million.
Okay, let's go for the 1.8.
Yeah. Madam
you, everyone.
President, I really think this is an exceptional circumstance, and I really think that Mr. DeSena's proposal is a good one.
Yes, and I think if we can do
Mayor.
this, we can vote for the budget, and we could submit the budget. That would even be a more positive addition to the 1.8.
Mr. Mayor, could we have Lurch Vinci give us the exact number tomorrow with the 1.8?
Assuming Bob has passed his emergency and can communicate with them, yes.
They'll get it to us. We'll have as soon as the budget's finalized, we'll have the final numbers for the residents in town. I think that's a good expectation.
Thank you.
All right, I need you to go backwards a little bit for me now. Who actually is going to make the motion on this 1.8?
I am.
All right.
I seconded it.
And I'll third it.
Thanks, Art.
My pleasure.
May I do a roll call?
Yes, go ahead, Sue.
Okay. Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with this being said, it's the position that we're currently in. The drainage being removed, the garbage truck being in 2021, the understanding of what the mayor did in order to get us where we are with the numbers to understand the tax impact. Are we ready to go forward and close the budget for this year?
Yes.
Yes.
I hope so.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion. Where is it that I'd like to introduce the budget.
No, Stacy,
You can't.
you gotta have your documents, you can't do it.
We don't
this
have
way.
it.
I
We
don't have
the
it.
document.
Yeah, so what I would
Have
suggest,
the earliest- when can we have the meeting next?
well, that's what I was just gonna suggest to you. If you pick a date, it's gonna have to be next week, because if I put an advertisement in tomorrow before
Yeah.
12 noon, it goes into.
What about, so Friday is
The newspaper, it goes in the newspaper on Friday. I need 48 hours before you can have a meeting, which means Tuesday or Wednesday of next week.
Okay.
Thursday
next-
is going to be court session. So you can do Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. You just have to tell me what date you would like to advertise a meeting for.
And I have two questions. What's on Thursday is court?
Next Thursday, yeah, she's going to do a virtual, like what we're doing.
Ms. Feeney,
No, no, what about this week
We
Thursday? You
can't,
need,
I have to advertise a special meeting. I need 48 hours.
Done.
And once
so if you, 48 hours, that'll, Thursday is fine.
No, Stacy, I get it to the newspaper by 12 o'clock tomorrow, that's their deadline. The earliest I can get it in is Friday. It's gotta be 48 hours before when it's advertised. So that brings you to Memorial Day. We cannot meet on Memorial Day, so we go Tuesday or Wednesday. That's the earliest we can do a special meeting.
can we do next Wednesday, Mrs. Feeney?
Which would be
Next Wednesday would be
the
the,
29th?
yeah, I mean, next Tuesday is fine if Tuesday doesn't work. Tuesday doesn't work for everybody, I'm assuming?
May 27th.
Okay, wait, hold on one second. I just want to pull a calendar because we said we would try to have it by the 20th.
Well, she said by the 30th.
No, I know, but you and I talked about she'd like it no later than the 25th.
No, because the 25th is Memorial Day.
No, I know, but that's what that's what my notes say. You said
No.
you'd like to have it no
Because-
later than the 25th.
No, the 30th is what she wants. The state would like everybody to have an introduction of their budgets by May 30th.
So, okay, so Wednesday, I guess Tuesday's not working for everybody, correct?
Yes.
Excuse me.
So May 27th.
Thank you.
All right, May 27th. And we are all in agreement that we're going to introduce this budget, correct?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, please.
What time?
7:30, because Desiree's
Yeah.
Okay.
Get it done, it's gonna be a quick meeting, everyone, right?
Yeah.
Nothing else on the agenda, right?
There's nothing
Well,
else on the
unless we do
agenda,
the
right?
closed session with Mr. Pollard on Wednesday.
Well, Mr. Pollard, under these circumstances,
I did.
Mr. Pollard?
Yes.
Mr. Pollard, would you like to do a closed session after we introduce the budget on next Wednesday?
Whatever your pleasure is fine.
Okay, so let's
What's
put that
the-
on there then, because
Mr.
then we,
Pollard, what's the law stating about closed session? With remote access? That's what I wanted to talk to you about tomorrow morning.
All right, we'll talk about it tomorrow morning.
All right.
I will say this: the outline of what you're supposed to do is avoid closed session if possible. Only things that are very, very important on the emergent side. They're trying to discourage the closed sessions during this time. But some of the things that we're discussing, they're ongoing. So I'll talk.
they're time sensitive also?
Well, actually, not really, because I'm doing it anyway. It's just kind of reporting and bringing people up to date. But I mean, it's moving forward. I don't really need any more direction. I already had my original direction on the things that I'm going to report about, and I kind of gave.
So I guess the question, Mr. Pollard, is because this is ongoing and you have good forward momentum, is it, in your recommendation with the current situation, should the council be updated in your legal opinion?
No, I don't think there's any decisions to be made next Wednesday for sure. No decisions whatsoever. So there's nothing. We'll probably meet, have a regular meeting. If anything comes up between next Wednesday and the next meeting, that's fine. but there's
So the
nothing
next
coming
meeting's the
up.
4th, correct, Sue?
June 3rd.
Or is it
Yeah.
June 3rd?
And that's only because of election, if election was going to be, but that's where we had put it.
You'll be
so.
fine. You'll be fine.
Fine.
And
So we could do it then.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Okay.
so June 3rd for closed session.
And next week's a quick meeting then, yay.
Okay.
As long as we're all still in agreement on Wednesday, yes.
Wednesday, 7:30.
7:30.
Pass the budget, celebrate, and shoot off the fireworks.
Yes, and hopefully it'll be our first virtual meeting. I'm going to work to get Ninja up and running.
God, I'll have to shave.
Was that it?
Stacy?
It is. I just want to say one more thing again. If any resident needs assistance, please contact the task force. We are here to help you. We've been very fortunate in this town that we've had very few requests. But again, we do have the resources, the facility, and the volunteers to help any residents who need assistance during these times. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's on the task force. If you're in assistance with something else, please reach out.
Mr. Mayor, were you going to say something?
Sorry.
I was, but I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
I look forward to passing the budget. Do we need a motion to adjourn?
We do. Are we ready? Sue, do you need anything else from us? Are we good?
No, I think we're good. I think we're good. If you and I could just talk for a minute before we hang up, or I can call you right back for tomorrow.
Call me right back.
Yep, we'll be good. We're good.
Okay. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Aye,
you.
Aye.
Aye.
I want to thank
Bye, guys.
everybody
Stay
for their
safe.
consensus on the budget.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Cummings.
Good night, ma'am. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night, Sue. Thank you.
You're welcome.